Okay, so actually a lot of people ask this question. So in the state of North Carolina, I personally feel like they prioritize the tenants over the landlords. It's a completely unfair system, but here's how it works. So in North Carolina, you have to give people a 5-day grace period. I'm in the state of North Carolina. I can't speak to any other state. I'm going to speak on North Carolina. This is where I live. This is where my properties are. And this is where I also work as a property manager and a leasing agent. So rent is due on the 1st. You have to give your tenants a 5-day grace period, and you cannot charge a late fee within that grace period. So what that looks like is rent is due on the 1st, grace into the 5th, late fee can apply on the 6th. Now, you have to give them a 10-day notice to pay or quit before you can file an eviction. So most people, or like when I worked at apartment complexes, they would wait until the 5th, send out the 10-day notice on the 5th or the 6th, and then on the 16th, they can file for eviction. I don't do that. Rent is due on the 1st. You can technically send out your notice on the 2nd, which is what I do. So I send my 10-day notice to pay or quit on the 2nd. Then you get to the 5th for the grace period. The 6th is the late fee. My 10-day waiting period is over on the 12th. So if I don't have my money by the 12th, I file eviction on the 12th. Now, they can still pay, even if I've already filed an eviction. However, they would have to reimburse me my court costs. If they don't, then we would go to court. When we get to court, they can still pay me and they can still pay the court costs, and we can have the court case dismissed. If they don't have the money, more than likely, I will be granted possession of the property based on non-payment of rent. However, they have 10 more days to appeal the eviction. If they appeal the eviction, that's just going to get messy. Thankfully, none of my tenants have ever appealed. If they don't appeal, they have 10 days from the date that you were granted possession to remove their belongings. If they don't get out after those 10 days, on day 11, you go back to the courthouse and file what's called a writ of possession. The sheriff will contact you within 5 days, 5 to 7 days, and they will come out and actually come and remove the person from the property. And you can padlock it, change the locks or whatever, and that's when they get out. So realistically, if you don't pay me rent, I have to wait 10 days to give you a notice. I have to wait for the court date. I have to wait to get possession. Hope you don't appeal. If you don't appeal, I got to give you 10 more days. If you don't get out after those 10 days, I got to wait 7 more days for the sheriff, which is why it's always easier to just work with the tenant and just ask them, hey, can you leave? Like, you don't have to worry about paying me because I'm losing a month anyway while you being rude or while you don't want to leave. And then I still got to come here and turn around the property anyway. So please just leave. I'll work with you. And then once the sheriff comes and remove them, you got to allow them to come back in at least one more time to come remove all of their belongings. So that's a short summary of what the eviction process looks like. Just make sure you have all your notices in order. Make sure you have everything lined up the way you're supposed to. Because if you send out the wrong notice or you send out another notice while you're pending a court date, it can cancel out the court date. It's just a whole bunch of mess. So just make sure all your ducks in a row.